Good morning to you. It's a brand new day filled with love, and welcome to another edition of your morning tonic, and that is Daybreak Live on Dominion Television, located at Yagoho here in Ibadan. So once again, good morning, and thank you so much for joining us on the program. I am Pat Aitu, and have my very handsome man in the studio. That's Samson Balogun. Samson, good morning.
Good morning to you. Welcome to another interesting, engaging, and of course, insightful edition of Daybreak Live on Dominion Television, your channel of choice, where inspiration meets entertainment.
Well, Daybreak Live is a program designed for your listening pleasure and viewing pleasure, and it's divided into segments to keep you abreast of happenings around your country, Nigeria and beyond. Once again, we say good morning. Of course, you can visit our website on www.dominion.org.com. .ng.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. And of course, on our YouTube
channel at Dominion Broadcast. Make sure you do subscribe to that channel. Drop your comment there and be a part of the conversation at Dominion Broadcast. You can also do well to link up with us on all other social media platforms, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok at Dominion Broadcast. And on X at Dominion Cast. All right, there's a lot to unpack on this show this morning, talking about segments which we have here marked for this show. But then we cannot go ahead without wishing an amazing and of course a quintessential woman a very happy birthday. And that's in person of our vice chairman, in person of Dr. Mrs. Margaret Temitayo Owolabi. From all of us at Dominion Broadcast Group, we say a very big happy birthday to you. Long life and prosperity.
Amen.
In fresh glory and anointing.
Amen.
God bless you, ma. Right, even from there this morning,
all right,
we go straight into the topic of the day. We have a lot to discuss.
Yes,
and that's about
security.
Growing security challenges in the southwestern part of Nigeria. It is becoming alarming, and it's important that we take a critical look at the situation. What exactly is the problem? What's the solution? Because as much as we want to see the problem and discuss it, we must also provide solutions to, these things. And then, we cannot but talk about kidnappings, criminal infiltrations, banditry, and then the farmer harder crisis that we have always had in this part of the country, though not as much as they have in some other part of the country, which is the northern part. But then, as long as there's no peace in some part of the southwestern part of Nigeria, we have to discuss it.
Yes. That brings me to this. Nigeria is the giant of Africa, has witnessed an unprecedented incidences of insecurity ranging from what Samson said, that's the activities of Fulani herdsmen, Boko Haram insurgency, armed robbery, attack, kidnapping, murder, destruction of vehicles, and burning of churches, police stations, schools, hospitals, clinics, shops, and the rest. And of course, kidnapping expatriates. That makes people from other countries to get scared of coming to Nigeria.
In fact, that has scared so many investors from coming to Nigeria. And no country can survive without foreign investors. The more you bring in investors, the higher the chances of unemployed youths to actually get engaged. Yeah. And then when they are scared and they stay back in their country, then the government people get to ask more questions from the government.
Yes.
What exactly are you doing to make sure you provide jobs? But then I always tell people it is not always the job of the government to provide jobs for the people all the time, but it can provide an enabling environment for investors to come on board, and then they can actually engage the youth of the nation. But if there are security challenges that threatens lives and properties, then there will be a problem, and then the government will seem like they are not doing anything.
All right, moving on. These challenges have made a security pivotal issue that has culminated in the allocation of countries' huge meager resources that the government should have used
for something else, infrastructures actually. I always tell people that it is a lot easier to destroy properties. But then tell the person that destroyed to actually rebuild. Then you realize the fact that it is a lot more of a cumbersome process to actually get it rebuilt. Most especially when you look at the northeast and some part of the northwest now, you realize the fact that there are so many people who are actually displaced. And then to rebuild their homes and go back there is a problem. The government has not been able to fix that. But we talked about something a few days ago that instead of spending billions and billions of naira on building IDP camps, why not spend that money on security and rebuilding process in that particular part of the country? I don't think it's rocket science, but I feel it's doable if the government has the government is willing to do it. If they are willing to do it, then that should not be a problem. Then we will talk about since we are narrowing this down to the southwestern part of the country.
Well, I'm actually coming to that because I have a report that talked about that the first quarter of this year, that's 2025, 1,420 people were killed and 537 others kidnapped in various strategic incidents across the country. Now, coming down, in order to secure lives and properties of the people that the Southwest governors are actually governing, they came up with this issue to give this security outfit a name. That's Amotekun.
Western Nigeria Security Network, WNSN. Yeah.
So despite the presence of this Amotekun, we still have this continued insecurity still ravage some parts of the southwest.
To buttress your point, I think it is more important that we explain how these security outfits actually work, because so many people will put the blame on the Amotekun for not doing enough, but then people don't really know that they also have their constraints in one area or the other.
Well, we will leave that to our analysts to come talk more about that, because I think 7-1 is started by for the news. Well, of course, you join us again on Daybreak Live on Dominion Television as we go straight to our newsroom to give you update on what is happening in our country. Good morning.
Good morning. This is Daybreak News on Dominion Television. My name is Sarah Owane. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has presented a budget of 1.7 trillion naira as the 2025 budget of the Federal Capital Territory to the National Assembly for consideration and passage. In a letter from the president read on the floor by the Senate, Abbas Tajuddin, the president said that the budget presentation to the National Assembly was in line with the provision of Section 299 of the Constitution, which vests the legislative function of the FCT on the National Assembly. It said that the budget will prioritize investment in health, job creation, social welfare, increase agricultural production, and capital development. Oyo State Police Command has presented 20.1 billion naira check to 7,076 widows of the slain police officers in the state. The State Commissioner of Police, Johnson Adenola, disclosed this during the presentation of checks to the widows at the command headquarters, Eleyele in Ibadan, the state capital. Adenola added that the presentation of cash to the beneficiaries was a further confirmation of the unwavering commitment of the Inspector General of Police, Kayode Egbetokun, to the welfare of dependents of the fallen officers. Following the endless insecurity ravaging states across the country, the Nigerian Senate has adopted a motion to convoke a two-day security summit to provide solution to the challenges. Senator Jumo Folorunso Ibrahim, representing Ondo State Senatorial District, sponsored the motion, attributing insecurity to the global security challenges involving Russia and Ukraine. Reacting to the motion, Senate President Godswill Akpabio upheld a two-day national summit instead of the 3 days as contained in the prayer of the motion. The Senate President expressed optimism that the proposed summit will provide solution even as governors, traditional rulers, service chiefs, security experts will participate to suggest solutions. Similarly, the Senate has constituted an 18-member committee to provide legislative oversight on the activities of Rivers State Sole Administrator, retired Vice Admiral Ibok Ete Ibas, and the Senate President Godswill Akpabio announced the formation of the committee during the plenary session. According to Akpabio, the committee was constituted in a bid to strengthen transparency and accountability in the state governance. The Senate leader, Senator Okoyemi Bamidele, was appointed as the chairman of the committee. All Delta Party People Democratic Party House of Representative members have officially defected to the All Progressive Congress. Their defection was made public by the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Tajuddin Abbas, during plenary. Recall that former Delta State Governor Ifeanyi Okowa and his successor, Governor Sheriff Oboribori, had dumped PDP for the APC. The federal government has reaffirmed its commitment to ending examination malpractice in Nigeria's education sector, saying that it will go ahead with the transition to computer-based testing for the West African Examination Council and the National Examination Council by 2026. The Minister of Education, Tunji Alausa, stated this on a Monitor television interview. His comments came amid growing concerns about the integrity of public examination, especially following the release of statistics from the 2025 Unified Tertiary Matriculation Examination, which revealed that over 1.5 million of the 1.9 million candidates scored below 200 out of 400. The federal government has approved the launch of the National Identity Management Commission, NIMC, NIN authentication for secure and seamless identity verification and authentication. Similarly, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has directed the use of NIN authentication for verification and authentication across ministries, departments, and agencies, AMDA. The Commission said that the development was in line with its mandate of regulating a reliable national digital identity for citizens and legal residents to affirm their identity. Governor Ahmed Usman Ododo has sent a supplementary budget of 20.1 billion naira to the Kogi State House of Assembly for approval. This in addition to the 2025 budget of the 582.4 billion naira approved by the current 8th Assembly in Kogi State. The supplementary budget was forwarded to the House in a letter sent by Governor Ododo, which was read by the Speaker Aliu Umar during plenary today. In business, President Bola Tinubu has formally adopted a roadmap for the Nigerian electricity supply industry by approving the National Integrated Electricity Policy. The policy aimed to unlock $122 billion in investment to overhaul Nigeria's power sector. The policy outlines a sweeping reform agenda from the electricity sector, aligning with national development goals and global best practices, as required as Section 3.3 of the Revised Electricity Act 2023. And in sports, Flying Eagles coach Aliu Zubaru remained upbeat about the team's progress into the next round of the ongoing African Cup of Nations in Egypt, as they prepare to face Kenya in their last group game today. After beating Tunisia 1-0 in their first game last Thursday, Zubaru's team had hoped for an early passage into the next round with another win over Morocco on Sunday, but they battled to a goalless draw against the North Africans. The result left both countries with 4 points in the race for the quarter-final spot, while Tunisia are following them with 3 points. You can now visit our website on www.org.ng to watch us live and interact with us. You can also follow us across our social media platforms on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and LinkedIn at Dominion Broadcast, and on X at Dominion Cast. That's end the Daybreak News. I am Sarah Owane.
All right, welcome back to Dominion Television Studios, where we are bringing you Daybreak Live. And of course, you just listened to news with Sarah Owane, where we'll bring you happenings around our country and beyond. Right now, we'll go straight to newspaper to let you know what is happening there. I mean, a lot's happening in this part of the world and of course in our country, Nigeria. And we'll begin with this one from the Nigerian Tribune, where we have Senate proposes national summit on insecurity, and with the riders, malls, law, and hunting to nip repeats of Urumi 16, and set up 19-man committee to oversee emergency role in Rivers State, and of course reps to Pali Senate to restore democratic order, Speaker, and that's on page 3 and 13 of that newspaper. Something.
All right, we'll take another story. But then before we go to another story, talking about summit on insecurity in the country, I feel like they do have summits almost all the time. When you talk about meetings with defense heads in Nigeria, defense meetings, talking about meetings with the NSA, National Security Advisor. That happens almost every time. So it means that the only thing that is lacking is the will to get things done in the country. And then, if you talk about insecurity in the country, I think it is not a thing that started today. We have to trace it back to what happened in the past, trace it back to how it was done in the past. If there were issues surrounding these communities, probably communal clashes, farmer-herder crisis, what caused it? If we can find a way to pinpoint the causes of the issue, then we'll be able to solve them. But, okay, if we want to talk about summits now, we'll talk about the national confab that happened during the regime of President Goodluck Jonathan. Then, what happened to the results? I mean, they packaged a result, gave it to the president. What happened to it? Was it swept under the carpet? When President Muhammadu Buhari came on board at the time, the same report was given to him. What did he do with it? And then we have President Bola Ahmed Tinubu at the helms of affairs. What is happening to the report of the national confab?
I think the outcome of what they had with the National Assemblies of both Plateau and, if I'm not mistaken, Plateau and Benue State resulted to this for them to like, okay, we're proposing a national summit on insecurity, because there were a lot of questions, and that thing, the meeting was rowdy yesterday, and I think at the end of the whole thing, they could come up with this, that they need to propose a national summit on insecurity. Well, we hope for the best.
We'll see what happens. And that story is on page 3 and page 13 of the Nigerian Tribune this morning. Away from there, Tinubu met Delta State Governor, other APC governors amid defection realignment. That story is on page 10 of the Nigerian Tribune this morning.
Well, away from that, we have this same thing. 6 Delta PDP reps join APC, and 2 Enugu Labour Party reps moved to PDP, and Delta Assembly Speaker 21 others defect to APC, and Edo Assembly Speaker others dump PDP for APC. And that's on page 4. Defection everywhere.
It looks like we have not seen the last of defections in the country right now. Maybe we are still going to see more before the election comes around. But then, away from that, this morning, we take this story. Nigeria First policy, long-awaited relief to manufacturers. That's coming from MAN, Manufacturers Association of Nigeria. Says policy will boost our nation's GDP by 56%, reduce unemployment by 37%. We hammered this yesterday while we were having the newspaper analysis. What exactly is going to happen? What will be the result of empowering manufacturers in Nigeria, giving them the opportunity to thrive in their businesses? And I think they are also seeing the light at the end of the tunnel right now, with the president saying, look, we have to put Nigeria first ahead of every other country. We cannot continue to import goods from China, from the United States of America, from Japan, for automobiles to food. That is not a good thing for a country like Nigeria, especially when we are trying to... A giant of Africa, and exactly at the time when the country is trying to rebuild the economy. How do you strengthen the Naira when you continue to buy dollars, to buy other foreign currencies? It means you are weakening the Naira, and then the way to go is to make sure we strengthen manufacturers in the country.
All right, this one is on health. 2 million children malnourished in Nigeria, second highest worldwide. That's coming from UNICEF.
Well, this is one news I don't like to see on the pages of the newspaper. Why? Especially when it puts Nigeria in a very, very bad shape outside there. You know,
it is not. It's actually happening.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's not happening, but I feel like the government has a lot to do. And then it has to start with when budgeting. If you are budgeting for the year, how much are you budgeting for health? Will it cater for all this we are seeing on the pages of the newspaper on a daily basis? How do you intend to bring people out of poverty? Because if you are talking about malnourished children, it comes from, most of these actually come from insecurity in their part, in that part of the country, and then when they are moved, they don't get the kind of care they deserve to get. And then you can also link that to poverty too. When you link that to poverty, you know that parents who can actually not afford to feed their children the way they should, meaning that the economy is not friendly to most of the families right now.
UNICEF is saying that just 18% of children aged 6 to 23 months are fed minimum acceptable diet.
And then you look at how much it costs to feed a child per day. Will every family be able to get that, to raise that, to feed a child per day? Not to talk of in a month. So it means that our families are now improvising. There used to be a time when your mom will ask you, are you okay? And then there's a time when they don't really care as long as they are able to provide something for you, whether you are okay or not.
That's where they
have justified the conscience.
They shot it down
as Shotiyo has now turned to Shotijel. So that's the situation right now. But I feel like when the president and the Federal Executive Council meeting, when they are sitting for the FEC meeting, these are things they should discuss. How do we lift more Nigerians out of poverty? Because at the time I could remember, we have 3 classes in Nigeria. We have the highs and mighty, the ones who can afford whatever they want at what time, at any time, and then we have the middle class who will not do past what they can afford, and then we have the people who the not so privileged ones. Even at the time when we had the not so privileged ones, they could still afford to actually feed their children. The only thing is they may not be able to build a house or buy a car, but at least to feed and have shelter was still something that was doable then. But right now, you see families who will first of all think of shelter, because to pay rent now is a problem. Because when you look at the Nigerian economy, I was talking to someone who was in need of a house yesterday. When you look at the house that was presented by an agent to the person and the price, you will be like, is this in the same country, Nigeria? Away from there this morning, we'll take another story, and we'll go straight to the Nigerian Tribune again, and then we'll take this story. 10 years after, family others to celebrate Oni Shijuade. That's on page 16 of the Nigerian Tribune this morning.
All right, CSO seek explanation on 6 billion naira police uniform contract, files FOI request. Then rider to petition ICPC over alleged 234 billion naira police funds. Embezzlement.
This is what you get when there's a usual adage used by the Yorubas. I wouldn't want to say that here, but then when I talk about it, you understand exactly what it means. You know, there are places where you expect so much and then you get so little. Then it saddens you that you are getting what you are getting from there. In a place where you are meant to protect lives and properties of the people, and then you realize that only people who are honest enough to do it should be there. And then when you have cases of embezzlement in this particular corner of governance, you know that something is actually wrong somewhere. And then you talk about reorientation for the people at positions, wherever you are appointed or elected. People have to be get reorientation, because it's becoming a problem that people that we actually see as role models are the ones perpetrating all these heinous crimes. And
they are the one even arresting people to, like, okay, we found this with you, we're investigating, and these are the people that they need to petition again for 234.
That must come to equity. Must come with clean hands. So if you are going to arrest anyone, be sure that you have the clean mind to say, yes, I have to do it because I am also clean. Away from that, this morning, we go straight to another newspaper, and that will be the Leadership newspaper this morning. And the major headline on Leadership newspaper says, falsehood merchants behind GMO controversy. That's coming from experts. Declared teller maize, others safe for consumption. Says technology innovation best solution to food insecurity. Nigeria can save 900 billion naira yearly from teller maize. That's coming from ABU professors. You know, there has been concerns about genetically modified seeds in the country, especially imported ones, saying they are not healthy enough for people to actually consume. And then there were a lot of back and forth as regards this. But then they are saying, look, if we want to have enough to plant, we have to genetically modify this. But then, if you continue to modify, at a point will come, will we still have original seeds to plant? That's the question. If it is maintainable, if you can maintain it, well, no problem.
All right, we'll have this. NAS lacks power to summon Benue Speaker and lawmakers. I mean, that was why it was rowdy during the meeting, I mean, yesterday at the assembly.
I think the law actually has to, that's what we said about the Nigerian Constitution. how clear
as
is it?
Amended.
As amended. How clear is it to the people? Many a times people get to hide behind the loopholes in the Constitution, and then they do all sorts of things, and they know that when they get to the court of law, there's always a way out of it. And sometimes there are no precedences to prove that the law is actually on the right path or not. But then the issue now is, as it happened in Rivers State, where when the president declared state of emergency, we all, according to what we explained and what the law says, it says the new sole administrator is answerable to the National Assembly. But then we now said that it only depends on the kind of instruction given to the sole administrator by the presidency. So if he felt is to report to the presidency, fine, so be it. But don't forget that anytime there's an issue, the National Assembly takes over the affairs in that particular state. Meaning that if he is summoned by the National Assembly, I think there is a place in the Constitution that makes provision for that. Yeah. All right, away from there, let's take, we are tracking root cause of insecurity, NEDC. That's on page 7 of the Guardian, the leadership newspaper this morning. I think we just spoke about that not long ago.
Well, we want to close two eyes while sleeping. We don't want to open one. And of course, nowadays, people don't even sleep at all because of the issue of insecurity.
Has it happened to you before that you have lived in an area where they wake everyone up in the middle of the night and say you're vigilantes, and then you start doing vigilante all by yourselves? What happens to those set of people when it's morning and they have to go to work? They will not be effective. Meaning there has to be, for a smooth running economy, security is needed.
It's needed. Yeah. It's needed. So, do we still have more of that to talk about?
Yeah, we still have more stories on the leadership newspaper this morning, especially on the upper third. President submits 1.78 trillion naira FCT 2025 budget to reps. That story is on page 7 of the leadership newspaper this morning.
Okay, still from the leadership newspaper, we have 40 years after DSS removes Arugundade's name from watch list.
That's on page 7.
40 years after.
40 years after. That's on page 7 of the leadership newspaper.
We'll move away from there.
Away from there, it goes straight to
The Guardian.
The Guardian newspaper.
All right, and the banner, the big banner here says, how insecurity middlemen drive up rice prices, false mill shutdowns. That's on page 6.
You know,
why?
There is no way this will not happen because in most part of the country where major rice business is done, you realize the fact that there are security challenges in that part of the country. And then when the farmers leave their farms, then the little that is being produced, there are some people somewhere who are actually benefiting and milking the country fat in that part of the country. What they do is to, after locally produced rice is made, they transfer it into an imported bag and then they sell at a very high rate. And then you ask yourself this question: who are you deceiving? The people, the government, or yourself? Because at the point it will dawn on you that you are not actually doing the right thing. But how do you cope doing that on a daily basis and you feel you are doing the right thing?
Well, some people do not have conscience anymore. All what they're after is the money. Provided they have the money and they can use the money to get what they want, they're good to go.
They think they no longer care about the people.
They don't care about the people.
That's why I most times talk about what Nigerians do to Nigerians. You know, many a times we actually pin the blame on the government, most especially the president, without even remembering that we have governors somewhere, we have members of the House of Assembly, members of House of Rep, we have local government chairmen. In fact, we have councillors. Some of the times we actually pin the blame in our local communities to the president. Yeah, I'm not saying you cannot actually blame the president for what is happening in the country, but most of the times these issues we have to tackle them from the roots. Because when you look at a situation of things, you have been. I have actually experienced when I wanted to cross an express road, and then someone somewhere brought a plank and said you have to pay before you cross. That should have been a service to humanity. You have this plank, put it there, let people cross. But then he saw it as a business, as an ability to make money. People. So he brought the plank there, and then he kept taxing people. That's his own way of getting money.
To pay for
Of course, I had to pay because I needed to go to work. But then, should we be having this kind of orientation as Nigerians?
Any little thing like that, that's the time for you to snap and
that's
make
the idea.
Money out of
and
it.
And then you question everyone's integrity in the country when you actually see some people act in one way or the other. Take, for example, an average cabman who bought fuel for, let's say, 900 naira, and then price reduces to maybe 600 naira. You realize his own price will not change.
It will not change because they will give you another instances
of saying, give you excuses.
They give you another excuses of saying that
they buy spare parts.
They buy spare parts. They do servicing of the car, these and that's why the money, the transport fare will not reduce. I've encountered with them so many times, and that's what they keep selling. Well,
that's what you get in a country like Nigeria, where what goes up does not come down. It stays there. All right, I will take another story this morning, and then you have UN worries over dwindling donor funding as 4.6 million face severe hunger in the northeast. That's on page 29 of the Guardian newspaper this morning.
That was what UN was actually saying then.
You know, there is poverty in the land. There is hunger in the land. And when you look at faces of people, there used to be a time when you see an average Nigerian, we were once the happiest set of people in the world. When you see an average Nigerian, he's always happy. But now, everyone is engrossed with how he or she or the family will survive the next day. There used to be a time where you are already thinking of what to be. Because it is only when you are done eating, when you are satisfied, when you have taken care of yourself, there is shelter, there is food, that's when you talk about your goals as a person. You talk about your visions, your ambitions. But now, it is more of how do we survive as a family? And then that takes away the creativity in Nigerians. That is why we always have brain drain in the country. Because people, the little who are actually bold enough, who are financially buoyant enough to survive, are already leaving the country.
Yes.
Because I tell, when you talk about Japa,
even if they are not living, there are other people that depend on them.
It depends on them. So it becomes a problem for them too. And then when you talk about Japa in the country, Japa is not limited to, is not about people who can actually afford the next meal. It's about people who actually have the money. Do you know how much it costs to buy flight tickets to leave the country? Go to just to Ghana. How much more of going to the UK, going to Russia, going to America, going to Canada? So it means that whoever wants to Japa has to have money. So it's not for the poor. So meaning that the poor still remain in Nigeria. Suffering. And that's the problem.
Well, I will align this with what Peter Obi said. That's the Labour Party presidential candidate. Why poverty is worsening in Nigeria by Peter Obi. Well, that's on page 3.
Well, it's on page 3. I think it's a build-up of that story. Because when we talk about people living in the country, actually, and then they are the ones who can actually afford to start small-scale businesses. Imagine you traveling, living the country with about 5, 6, 7 million naira. Some people pay as high as 15 million naira to clear their family and take their families abroad. And then 15 million naira, given an enabling environment, would have started the business that will employ about 6, 7, 8, even 10 people who are going to be gainfully employed. But right now, people are taking that money out of the Nigerian economy. They are going to pay visa fees, meaning that money is not coming back to Nigeria. It's gone to the country of their destination. So it's a problem that the government really has to resolve. One, provide electricity for people who are actually into businesses, and then their business,
enabling environment.
How do you create an enabling environment? Make sure there is security. Their lives and properties are safe. Let there be 24/7 electricity. Their businesses,
even if it is not 24/7,
if they have regular 12, 16 hours, they are okay. Nigerians are not asking for too much. I always say this: they just want to be able to survive, and then there will be no problems. And then when there should be interconnectivity.
At least if someone is depressed and there is electricity, the person can actually do something.
Do something
with that.
Have you ever experienced it where you are bored and you feel like you are not too comfortable, and you pick up your phone, you start seeing comic videos on social media, and all of a sudden, boom, you have forgotten what you were thinking about. You are in another realm. This is what people actually, let them be. I told someone about the Nigerian government always creating something for people to actually forget what's the present issues. So since the beginning of the year, there has always been something that takes away, you know, whatever it is on your mind about the government. We had the Senator Godswill Akpabio and Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan issue. It was there for so many weeks, and then you had the Two-Face Idibia and another Natasha in Edo State. Yeah, so there's always something to talk about. But then Nigerians are not losing focus. They know exactly what they want, and that is why you continue to have protests like this if the government fails to do the needful. All right, away from there, this morning we'll take another story. The factions, Delta Federal state lawmakers switch allegiance to APC as Tinubu meets Governor Sheriff in Delta State. That story is on page 6 of the Guardian newspaper this morning.
I hope Nigeria is not turning into a one-party nation. Well,
I think the idea of the question is, are we not a one-party system? Before now, is the country not running a one-party system? When you look at the current crop of people in the APC and the current crop of members of the PDP, you realize the fact that at one point or the other, they have cross-carpeted from one party to the other. We had a guest last week who spoke about the ideology, that one person wrote the constitution of about 3 political parties. And then he was talking about the people do not have ideologies. But then, what happens to a politician who feels he has ideology, but cross-carpeted from a conservative to a progressive? Now, being progressive is not on paper. It's in the head. It's in the head. So, your ideology stays with you. But will you be able to function as a progressive in a conservative party? And will you be able to function as a labor man in a progressive party? These are things that people don't really study. Then, as a person, do you even have a blueprint before you get selected to be at any political party at one time or the other, or maybe given the man to lead?
Some of them don't even do manifesto before you vote for them.
I've seen a governor who throughout the campaign only spoke, I think, about once or twice, and the only time he spoke, there was almost chaos because what he said almost caused issue. It was corrected almost immediately. So it means that at one point or the other, we have had leaders who packaged another leader to take over from them. So now when you package someone to take over with no idea of his own, no blueprints, no intentions for the people whatsoever, he comes into power, he becomes a puppet, and someone somewhere begins to push him from one side to the other.
When he or she is not a robot,
he has no choice, because he's more or less like a robot that has been given a task to do. So, meaning that the country will continue to suffer if we don't put people who actually have ideas, who know exactly what they want to do, and then those people will be able to carry it out no matter the challenges they face. Because at one point or the other, you realize that some people, they really have ideas, but then having seen some challenges, then
they will need to step back.
Because they feel like, oh, I need 4 more years. I want 4 more years, and then you need to satisfy your, godfather.
But there was a time we had this independent candidate, like, okay, you can come out and say, okay, you people vote for me. I want to represent you. But what happens to that?
Independent candidacy only existed on paper. Have you seen anyone who actually was able
to win,
to contest and win as an independent candidate in Nigeria? It only existed on paper. In fact, political parties will laugh.
But we're hoping that once it exists on the paper, gradually it will move from that paper to what people will accept in our society.
For how long will that happen? How many years will it take? Because for every year wasted by this country, by a leader in this country, for every year wasted is about you taking a foot forward and then about 5 or 6 foot backward. It means that Nigeria is just running in circles. And if that continues, it means the country is sitting firmly on a keg of gunpowder. It's a ticking time bomb that, if care is not taken, might become a problem in the future.
All right. Over 75% of Lagos food supply from other states, says Lagos State government. That's on page 7 of the Guardian.
Lagos has no land, so you can't blame them for what is happening. They really do not have.
There was a time they had this lake, I can't remember, rice that was planted in Kebbi.
Yeah, they had a relationship with some states in the north. Niger too was one of those states, and then they acquired, you know, large parcel of land, planted rice. I think they are still into that partnership, but then the government can actually do all this, because sometimes people will tell you government has no business in business. But hey, in an era where this country is in very bad shape, I think the government has to really stand up, because to provide an enabling environment, the government really has to do something. And then when people see the government doing it and succeeding, maybe people who have actually decided to put their monies in fixed deposits will now realize, well, maybe we should try businesses. I've seen people sell their business and they kept the money in the bank and they left the country, because they felt like, I don't think I can survive in this kind of economy. I used to work for an individual a few years, about 15 years ago, who sold everything in the factory. Sold everything, bought tickets for himself and his family, and they left. They have not been to Nigeria since then. So we have a lot of people like that who have actually left the country because they felt the government has not provided the enabling environment for private businesses
for their business to thrive.
So if that continues, where do you place a country like Nigeria in the next 20 years? Well,
back to this day now. Let's move to this day. We have with $75 budget benchmark concern mount as oil price hovers around $60 per barrel. And lots of riders there. We have Goldman Sachs, Barclays, Morgan Stanley / Forecast, and Nasima CPPE advised federal government to review budget projections. Analysts, lower oil price puts economic at risk and great appetite for borrowing. And lastly, on the rider, we have NLC predicts more hardship for Nigerians.
Well, a boring economy is an economy that is, you know, at the edge of a cliff, about to
collapse. All
the thing is, if the price of crude drops, there is always a projection. When you are, compiling your budget, you are saying, oh, if dollar remains 6 naira per barrel, I'm just saying, citing an instance, if it remains at 6 naira per barrel, means that if you sell so number of barrels, we'll be able to cover the budget for for this year. And then, if the price falls to 4 naira, meaning that you don't have enough money to fund the budget, to foot the bill. That means that there will be appetite to borrow. Let's borrow money to foot the bill so that we'll be able to at least achieve what we intend to achieve. But how many times have, as an average Nigerian, actually asked questions about this year's budget, let's say 2024 budget, to what percentage were you able to achieve what you said you wanted to achieve? What percentage were you able to implement the budget?
Well, the bottom line here is we just want government to do the needful, because the last part of the rider, which says and also predicts more hardship for Nigerians, we really don't want that to happen right now. Well, that's much we can take on the newspaper review this morning. And of course, we'll be right back after this break. See you again. Welcome back. You're still very much on to the program Daybreak Live on Dominion Television, and of course this is where we'll analyze the newspaper headlines we have read to you so far this morning. We have our guests, a public affairs analyst, then talking of Oluwaseun Oluwole. Mr. Oluwaseun Oluwole.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good to have you here.
Nice to have you in the studio with us this morning.
Yeah.
Right now, we'll be talking about the pressing issues, something that is of concern to everyone in the country, which is security. Okay. We have had the southwestern part of the country has had its fair share of insecurity in recent times. And we want to talk about how did we get here? What exactly is the problem? But as a person who is a public affairs analyst, how would you rate the security structure in the southwestern part of the country as we speak?
Okay, good morning once again.
Good morning.
Now, talking about security and the idea of insecurity in the country, especially in this part, the southwestern part. Over the years, the southwestern part, we the Yorubas have been known to be friendly and accommodating. Although all the part of it, Nigerians really are accommodating. But along the years, something has actually happened, whereby we've let down our guard, maybe due to some economic challenges from the suburban areas, where some of these vast land areas were given out to herders and to foreigners coming in from the upper part of Nigeria. But nevertheless, we have had our own share of insecurity, because at the end of the day, all the people coming in, some of them seems to be going out for more, coming out for more in the economic of things. They want to even lay hold of your land lease. They want to take control of things where they have been given, they have been accommodated. But to now curb that insecurity, the economy, the security apparatus framework that was set up by the governors of the Southwest, the Amotekun, have been doing their own part locally. But we need to do something more robust concerning the operations of this outfit when it comes to insecurity.
More robust than what aspect?
Okay, in the aspect of operations.
Okay.
Now, if you take a look at, if things happen in the suburban areas, it will take a very long time for a governor of a state to summon the Nigerian army or the Nigerian armed forces just for something that happened in the suburban areas. Do we actually have our forces going out to those areas, reaching out to those areas? No, it will take a very long time. Even the police force cannot get there in the twinkle of an eye. But setting up apparatus such as the Amotekun, which is much more closer, which will be much more closer to the people in the suburban, okay, that can take care of the securities. We actually know these people causing all these problems. We know where the problems are coming from. So if we have our own people at the grassroots forming a security coalition to stem all these problems coming in, nip them in the bud, then I think that would be very, very...
Are you advocating for local policing, community policing?
That would be very, very much needed. Local policing. If you advocate it for more, like serious, like I was saying now. Remember some couple of years ago, while a particular socialite here in Nigeria, in Southwest, especially here in Ibadan, was clamoring for security of his own people. Even the federal government, the federal government think he's asking for too much. By saying he's coming on out to secure people,
instigating the people against the government.
Yes. But now, if we have a more compact body, a more structuralized body to be in charge of all these things, while the government will take control, will keep them harmonized.
Are you talking about a joint security front in the southwestern part of the country?
Yes, which is actually what we have.
The Nigerian Army, the NSCDC.
We are talking of our own local people.
You're talking about vigilante?
Yes, not actually vigilantes. When you are talking about vigilante, at least people that can keep the home front, people that knows the people, that knows the inside out.
And that's the job of the Amotekun.
That is what I'm talking about.
That is what I'm soliciting for. Rangers again, that their work is to comb the forest.
Not rangers. When you are talking about rangers, we have forest rangers. If you've been to the Old Oyo Park where we have forest rangers, they are quite different from the Amotekuns. The main job of the forest rangers is to keep the forest safe, even the forest animals from just being poached by foreign poachers. That is their own. But when you are talking about security itself as an apparatus, the Amotekun is there to stem it. Although they might not be fully equipped, like the police. Yes, like the police, when we have them carrying guns all about.
All right, you're talking about local police. Let's take a look at what's on the screen right now.
Okay.
Then you talk about these trainings of this security apparatus in Nigeria. We want to talk about the Amotekun, we want to talk about the Nigerian police, we want to talk about the NSCDC. And then if you put all them together, side by side, you realize the basic training duration for an Amotekun corps
is 1 to 3 months.
And then the key focus is community policing and intelligence gathering. They can report that to the police that, okay, we have spotted so-so situation in so-so place, and the police will swing into action. That is their responsibility.
Like the one that was done in Ondo State some couple of years back.
And then talk about the Nigeria police. Basic training duration is 6 to 9 months, and their key focus is law enforcement, firearms and investigation. Now, let's go to the NSCDC. Basic training is between 6 and 12 months. Their key focus is civil defense and infrastructure protection. Don't forget, recently, in the last few years, you have seen the government drafting them to actually take an oversight on pipelines and properties and the likes.
Even with things that are out of their own.
With a month to 3 months of training, does the Amotekun corps have what it takes to actually do the job you are placing on their shoulders as we speak? I'm not saying they are not doing a very good job. They have, at least you have seen cases where they have reported cases of Amotekun corps actually nipping the security crisis in the bud in some areas of the country, especially in areas where there is a lesser reach of the police. Now, the question is, will they be able to carry out this job, especially with the responsibility placed on them and the training they have received?
Be mindful, let us be mindful first that they are just there to nip some serious cases in the bud while falling back to the real Nigerian police for backup. But intelligence gathering, like we said, that 1 to 3 months is enough for you to know the people around you, for you to know people who are actually going to perpetrate some evil around your community. By so doing, you are to police around. Their main job is to police around, look inwards or look outwards for insurgents coming in, both the domestic and internal, from external, coming into their own suburban area. Now, when they have gathered information, their main duty is to fall back to the Nigerian police or the NSDC. But in communicating or in communication,
there's a communication gap
between them. There will be communication gap in areas that before we can get enough forces on ground, the real forces that will do the main powerful job, the real job, I think it will be much better if we equip them more.
What are you talking about equipping them more? Is
equipping
it with training
them more
or
with training, with equipment. of the day.
You mean the Amotekun?
The Amotekun.
But do not forget that they have lesser
training
duration. That's between 1 to
3 months.
3 months compared to NSCDC and police officer.
But do we also have in mind that the insurgents coming into our areas are getting more and more intelligent by the day? Do you not think to say, okay, the 1 to 3 months should be enough? No, we can still stem things up and still, you know, step up their own game too, and let them be more robust update them, and then be more robust in their operations. So that's what we can do.
So far so good. Have you seen any collaboration between the three agencies? We just showed you the basic training duration. Because
actually, when you talk about synergy between these three people, you come across situations where you say an Amotekun corps or the Amotekun people fighting the police over a particular case. We shouldn't be.
Okay.
That means there's a gap in communication. There's no synergy. One is saying, I'm much more superior than you, so you shouldn't be in the scope of things.
Do we still have that now? Because I remember
it's still happening.
When the security outfit was established, there was something of, no, I mean, what training do you have? This and that. Do we still have that issue right now?
It is still playing out between them. It will always play out. It has always played out between the Nigerian army and the Nigerian police. So it will always still play out between the Nigerian police and the Amotekun corps. It will always play out. Their level of operations, their level of training, and their level of equipment will always, and it will always play out. And by so doing, you will never get a synergy between these three people.
Well, let's quickly look at what the papers are saying this morning. From Nigerian Tribune, Senate proposes National Summit on Insecurity, and we have 3 riders there. Malls law on hunting to nip repeat of Urumi 16, and we have set up 19-man committee to oversee emergency road in rivers. And the last rider says reps to parley Senate to restore democratic order. That's coming from Speaker. What's your take on this?
Should we start taking them one by one? Now, reps to have a summit on insecurity.
That's Senate.
The Senate to have a summit on insecurity. Do we need to have a summit to actually know that there is insecurity in some parts of the country? Do we need to have a summit?
If we don't need a summit, what exactly should be done at this time?
We should get proactive about it.
How?
It has been, the insecurity has come to stay for a very long time. So what are we doing about it to curb it, to nip it in the bud? Every governor of their state should know that they should step up to be the chief security of their state.
How do they become chief security of their state? Are they to carry
for instance, in Plateau or wherever now, killings have been going on, where the governor...
Even in Benue.
Killings have been going on, that the governor has been denied some actions that, okay, these things were not actually happening.
Are you saying there should be a military formation in this part of the country?
It's not actually having a military formation. But there should be a synergy that could be... See, when you're having a military installation in every part of the country, it means more funding for the military. And what is the budget for the funding of the military? So when you decide to have... But we already have the military coming in. Can't we just have the police, the NSDC? What actually do we want them? Do we just want them to be figureheads, or we can still step up their game, get them doing something more proactive? We can decide to see this security has come to say it's not about now having sitting down and having summits.
Do the police have enough personnel to carry out these duties?
Although they don't, I will say I will always say that we're recruiting more. Go back to the welfare of all these agencies. It's not that people can't join them to stem up the security forces or the strength of all these people, but people will always think about the welfare in the first place. Do you understand? The welfare of all these agencies keeps people not being able to walk along with them. I want to join the police. If your brother should come home now and tell you, I want to join the police, what is the first thing that might come to my mind or to your mind? Yeah, are you okay? Is there nothing else to do? Do you still want to stand up? See, the welfare, if you have the welfare right, there are people that will come in to join the workforce of all these people. And then we can have the capacity to actually put them out there to stem things.
Now, Nigeria currently has a total of 370,000 officers.
Police or?
By estimates, police officers, 370,000. And if you actually have to see the population of Nigerians as we speak, it's benchmarked at around 236 million as at this year, which is 2025. Meaning the staffing level is insufficient to meet the UN's recommended standards. To achieve the 1 to 450 ratio, Nigeria would need to recruit an additional 190,000 officers, bringing the total to approximately 560,000. Will the government be able to do this at this time with the current economic situation in the country? And then, if they cannot recruit more, what are the other ways to look into security deficits in Nigeria, and that will fix it?
Security deficits. The deficits are just too enormous to fix, to fill in. Let's talk about the staffing of the Nigerian police. See the gap. The numbers of the Nigerian population, 200 and something million.
236 as of
236
2025
million.
by estimates.
By estimates. Look at the population of the Nigerian police. How do we actually, how can we actually distribute them across the states, across the federation?
Out of the 370,000 we have some who are actually permanently assigned to
dignitaries, politicians, and to some other places.
Even to foreign expatriates who have means more than 2, 3, 4, 5 police officers.
So that means we still have a deficit of the police officers that have to attend to the general public. So that is why, when we are talking about political, I mean, this idea of local policing now, that comes to mind. Look at the issue we had 2-3 weeks ago, where we have over 30 policemen guarding a Chinese farm or a Chinese family. That is the population of like 2-3 stations. Police stations. Now, if those policemen are actually there at that particular time, what happened to the general public where they should be guarding? What happened to them? There's a deficit in that area that they should be manning in the first place, and they are not, because they are actually manning a particular or a singular entity. Individual. So the only way we can stem up this, or we can fill the gap, is having a robust synergy across our security operatives. Already the Nigerian army have their own hands filled up there in the north.
Yes.
Fighting the insurgents.
Yes, fighting the insurgents. A friend of mine called me yesterday that they were under attack, heavily attacked, and he's in the hospital right now. The Nigerian army is facing that. You can't be fighting two battles two different battles at the same time. We have our own southwest, the ideas of Hadas and
Farmer
Hadas and all those crises coming up in the southwest, from Ondo State and every other state. Now, they have been divided, and the police are not even enough. Now, is it time now to talk about summit, or time now to talk about the budgetary allocations to this?
There's always been a budget for security.
Even each
there's what we call security votes.
Even if security votes.
But where is this money going?
You hear a governor telling you he doesn't have any right over the security of his own state. Then who has the right? But who is collecting the budget? The security vote. Now you are saying you don't have power over the security of your state, but you have the power to collect the security vote. Why don't you just look inwards and look at how you can manage the security of your state by doing what? Okay, now every southwestern state now have the Amotekun Corps. Now, it can't be just enough for you to say, okay, let me budget so amount to beef up the security of my state.
All right, Mr. Oluwaseun Oluwole, we sincerely appreciate you for coming on the program this morning.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much. All right, we'll be going on another break. We'll see you again. All right, you're welcome back. You're still watching Daybreak Live on Dominion Television here in Iyagoko in Ibadan. Of course, up next is Trend Watch with Osarenoma Saba. Saba, how are you doing this morning?
I'm good, thank you. How are you doing?
I'm fine. So what's happening in the entertainment world?
I mean, we're talking money, and we're talking money. So just sit back, relax, and enjoy.
Make I say you too like money, Abby.
Ah, well, if they give you money, sure you not collect.
I go just look small.
You not collect.
I no go collect, but if you deposit them into my account.
Ah, no problem now.
All right, enjoy.
All right, so yes, talking money. It's not Monday morning, but we're here talking money. Now, we're not just talking money, but we're talking spraying money. Now, Iyabo Ojo has come out to speak on this same issue about spraying money. She recently returned from her trip to the UK, and, you know, she just shared how she was invited by the EFCC concerning how, you know, money was sprayed at JP 2025. Now, we know JP 2025 was a carnival, and so many people were spraying money on her daughter, on just the whole celebration in general. Now, it wasn't just Naira, there was pounds, there was dollars, there was what? Euro. So basically now she has said, you know, with this post, good afternoon, lovely people. Following the recent media publication on social media and numerous calls and texts from different quarters seeking to hear from her on the EFCC invitation, you know, running down to where she says, the EFCC showed her videos extracted from her daughter's wedding where guests, including colleagues and friends, were spraying Naira and foreign currencies. And she was asked if it was illegal, and she said she only thought, you know, abusing it or the mutilation of Naira was an offense. But, you know, EFCC officials eventually told her and clarified that spraying money, including on people's bodies, is prohibited, whether dollars, Naira, euros, whichever currency, it is prohibited. So after all the questioning, she's here to tell us that, please, so my people, do not engage in spraying money, not just Naira, but any currency at all, so that everybody will not be, people will not be frequenting EFCC domot, right? I mean, recently we had Obi Kubana, Abi Kubana Chief, everybody, the e-money as well. You know, people have just been all picked up for this same spraying of money. And I remember Kubana Chief was saying that, I mean, we're Nigerians, this is what we enjoy, but he would devise another means, you know, by which we can enjoy ourselves in parties. Now, of course, this has sparked social media reactions. So let's take a look at one of the comments about the same spraying of money in parties. So yes, you know, Bo Bele says, now EFCC they reign now. In 2 weeks, they've invited 3 renowned people, E-Money, VDM, and Iyabo Ojo. Bro, I don't even know how to explain Nigeria to a non-Nigerian. If you're not a Nigerian, you will definitely not understand. E-Money was also, you know, in EFCC custody about the same spraying money issue. But, you know, VDM is in the news for something else, not for spraying money, but, you know, over the weekend he was captured. He was obtained by EFCC officials. So moving away from spraying money, we're going to VDM now. It was obtained by EFCC officials, and it definitely sparked a lot of reactions. We had people protesting, you know, we had people trending #FreeVDM on X. Now, you know, there was even a false report, you know, allegedly by EFCC, where they said, oh, VDM was arrested because, you know, we know he's a social critic, and, you know, different people petitioned against him. But now they've actually come out to say true why they arrested him. So EFCC says the case against Martin's innocent. Innocence? But yeah, they say, you know, he refused to show up in spite of several invitations sent to him through, you know, his known addresses and medium of communication. And the petitions pertain to grave allegations of financial maleficence, which cannot be ignored by the commission. So apparently, VDM has, you know, once in a while, you know, spoken about EFCC and their operations, and they were not, you know, very comfortable with it. And of course, they have also said that, you know, he will be granted bail once he fulfills all the requirements. But now, of course, like I said, it sparked social media reactions. I mean, if they did protests, if it's been trending, trust that all his people are still on this matter. Now, taking a look at some of the comments, right? Comments speaking on VDM's arrest still. You know, I mean, the EFCC report says innocence. And I mean, while I get your facts right, his name is Vincent. But I mean, they've actually eventually, edited the comments, right? So we see how people are like truly, he's been in their custody for a few over 24, 48 hours. Should he be, in custody for that long? But I mean, social media is social media. We will still see updates, on this. And as it's happening, we will give you all the gist as it is hot. Now, moving on to our final story. Our President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, has come out to congratulate, a Nigerian on, his Guinness World Record of creating the smallest GPS prototype. It's to track, it's a tracking system that, has been, debuted in the market. The smallest GPS tracking device by Oluwatobi Onyilola. And people have the opinion that yes, this is a great initiative, quite all right. But I mean, let's look at the facts. Did he do this here? The president now is coming to encourage him, but I mean, is he even going to make use of this GPS here in Nigeria, or was it the Nigerian system that enabled or empowered him to do that, right? So looking at the comments, we see people saying, maybe he should actually use this GPS to track our president, knowing that, he's always traveling from one country to another. And of course, some people are weary. Should they really be safe, knowing that, this kind of technology could be used for good and or for bad? If they catch it on somebody now, they will say, that they're using it to plan coup or using it to plan something suspicious in the society. But I mean, we're just hoping that even when we see celebratory news, it is truly, truly for the good of the people and, of course, for the good of the country. So, I mean, with these few words of mine, I hope I've been able to convince you and not confuse you that, one, let us not spray money, all right? Whatever currency that it is, do not spray money. And, of course, everybody should just be on their toes, knowing that EFCC is on their toes as well, looking at people and their activities. Okay, and of course, even with the new GPS system that has been developed by this Nigerian, let us still be encouraged to develop good things, not just for ourselves, but for the good of the country. I'd want to go on more, but I mean, there will be time for other things. So yes, I'll say back to Pat and Samson in the studio.
Don't go yet. Thank you for that update, because I'm actually planning to go for a party this weekend.
Don't spray money.
So for you to give me that update that I should not spray money, in fact, it sweetened my heart. And I'm like, okay, this is what I would do. I'll just ask the celebrants, just give me your account details.
Precisely.
And then just transfer to you.
You can use
The best method.
Money gun.
I'm not using something is telling me to use money gun. Imagine, am I not spraying?
That's even, it's still spraying now. Don't use money gun. Don't throw it in the air.
Spray
Don't.
professionally.
In fact, now I don't even know if I say spray, because some people still spray in like a basket, right? They can still say that now it's not allowed. Just either put in an envelope and hand it over to them.
All right, thank you so much, Osareno Masaba, on that beautiful episode.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your day. All right. Hey, you're still very much on to Daybreak Live on Dominion Television. Well, you said I should use spray gun.
Yeah, you should try spray gun.
And don't worry now, I have you as my...
I won't be going with you. But I won't be going with you.
No, you're my co-partner. Hold my hands.
Oh, no.
All right, we'll go for another break. See you again.
morning to you and welcome to Daybreak Sports this lovely Wednesday morning. The morning after the big one yesterday as Inter Milan, of course, picked up a ticket to the finals of this year's UEFA Champions League at the expense of FC Barcelona in what was indeed a thrilling encounter. Boluwaji Ogumala is my name. We have a whole lot lined up for your viewing player this lovely morning. Let's kickstart from the home front, talking about Nigerian Premier Football League, where the league body have announced that they are planning a colorful presentation ceremony for newly crowned NPFL champions at Remo Stars Football Club. Recall that Remo Stars 2 weeks ago won the Nigerian Premier Football League title following their 1-0 win over Niger Tornadoes. Well, they've confirmed that the presentation will be done on next weekend, and that's after the match day 37 encounter. But before match day 37 encounter, let's take a look at fixtures for match day 36 going down today across the federation. Talking about Nigerian Premier Football League match day 36 encounter that we're looking forward to this weekend, and there you have it on your screen. Lobby Stars, we kick things off later on today against Nasarawa United. The game will be played at the Nnamdi Azikiwe Stadium in Enugu, the adopted home ground of Lobby Stars. Also at 3 p.m. today, El Kanemi Warriors will entertain Remo Stars in Maiduguri. And at 4 p.m. today, Heartland will host Plateau United in Owerri, while Katsina United will slug it out with Kano Pillars at the Muhammadu Diko Stadium in Katsina. Rangers International, former NPFL champions, will visit Port Harcourt to take on Rivers United, while Niger Tornadoes will slug it out with Abia Warriors. Enyimba International will face off with Kwara United, while Shooting Stars of Ibadan at Lekon Salami Stadium behind closed doors will host their Southwest rivals, Sunshine Stars, later today at 4 p.m. Bendel Insurance will take on Akwa United, while Ikorodu City will slug it out with Bayelsa United. Promises to be entertaining, and of course, we will monitor all of that and bring you results later tomorrow after all of those games. From there, let's cross to Egypt, venue of the ongoing Under-20 African Cup of Nations, where Flying Eagles head coach Ali Zubair says that his team, will go all out for victory against Kenya later today in their final Group B encounter at the ongoing Under-20 AFCON in Cairo, Egypt. Well, the 7-time champions were held to a goalless draw by Morocco in their second group game in Cairo on Sunday. Now, Nigeria currently occupy the second position in the group with 4 points from 2 matches. The side need to beat Kenya today to be sure of a place in the quarter-final. Well, we will be taking on, of course, the Kenyans later on today. There you have it on your screen. At 4 p.m. Nigerian time, that game will be played in Cairo. Well, then let's take a look at games played yesterday at the Under-20 African Cup of Nations in Group A. Don't forget, we are in Group B. But yesterday in Group A, Zambia defeated Tanzania by a single goal, while South Africa were 4-1 better than Sierra Leone. I mean, I can't really say what Sierra Leone are up to in this competition, because last time out, they defeated the host and now they are losing to the South African. Let's take a look at the table. Right now, Sierra Leone currently top the pack with 7 points. After 4 matches, they've won 2, drawn 1 and lost 1. South Africa second as we speak. We have Zambia, Egypt and Tanzania, of course, in the top 5 in the 5-team group right there in Group A. And just like I mentioned earlier, Group B today would have our boys, the Flying Eagles, take on their Kenyan counterparts, and Morocco will slug it out against Tunisia later on today as well. Well, away from the Flying Eagles, let's cross to the camp of the Super Falcons this morning. And the Super Falcons of Nigeria will take on the indomitable Lionesses of Cameroon in a friendly encounter ahead of the 2024 Women's Africa Cup of Nations. Well, the game will serve as part of the team's preparation for the biennial competition. Well, Justin Madugu's side were last in action in a friendly game against France last December. Now, they lost the keenly contested encounter, you recall, was a friendly 2-1 to the Les Bleus. Now, the Falcons are expected to engage in more friendly games before the start of the Women African Cup of Nations coming up later on. Now, don't forget that Nigeria, we are in the same group, that's Group B, with Botswana, Tunisia, and Algeria. And the competition starts on the 5th of July and runs to the 26th of July. Well, from there, a very quick one coming from the National Sports Festival. Don't forget, the Sport Festival is our own Olympics here in Nigeria, and it's set to start in Abeokuta later this month, on the 16th of this month, and will run through to the 38th of this month. And yesterday, the governor of Ogun State, Governor Dapo Abiodun, confirmed to this that the state is almost ready to host one of the best competitions we've ever had in this country, confirming that they've done everything possible to ensure that all of the facilities are ready for the competition. And also during the press briefing yesterday, ex-international Chief Segun Odegbami was named the Grand Sports Ambassador for Ogun State. Well, we wish, of course, him all the very best with that one. Moving on the show this morning, and let's talk about the Italian Open. It kicked off yesterday in Italy, following the Madrid Open that we had last weekend. And there you have the order of play. But yesterday, Petra Kvitova won her first match since a birth of a child, 7-5-6-1. But there you have on your screen the order of play today. Naomi Osaka will be in action today against Arena, amongst many other matches to look forward to later on today. I will definitely bring you up to speed with that. Of course, holding in Rome, it's the Italian Open. It's a clear-cut event, and trust us on Dominion Television to continue to bring you up to speed on our subsequent sports bulletin. But still talking about the Italian Open, one player that everyone would love to see is that man on your screen, Jannik Sinner. Yes, he is the world #1. He was banned for testing positive to prohibited drugs. Of course, the ban actually ran out a few days ago, and he's good now to be part of the Italian Open. Of course, yesterday he was speaking about his experience out of the sport and how he's looking forward to being part of this Italian Open. Let's listen to him.
Court again, so yeah, I saw there's a lot of attention. Also kind of off the court, and I was also very surprised to see some pictures, which I'm nothing serious. Let's say it like this. It's all all. I'm not in relationship, so whoever is asking, so it's all good.
Okay, we will start with English. Please ask for microphone and introduce yourself.
Hello, Yannick. Russell Fuller from the BBC. Can I ask you about the agreement that you reached with the World Anti-Doping Agency?
There you listen to Jannik Sinner there speaking about, of course, the experience out of the sport in the last 3 months, and, of course, looking forward to the big Italian Open. Now, there you have on your screen the NBA, of course, conference semi-final playoffs in the early hours of today. The Pacers defeated, of course, the Cleveland Cavaliers 120 to 119 points to take a 2-0 lead in the series. And, of course, in the early hours of today as well, the Minnesota Timberwolves were also in action this morning. And, of course, they lost to the Golden State Warriors in the Western Conference, of course, semi-final pairing. And with that, Golden State Warriors are 1 point. They are 1 point ahead. They have on the screen there, of course, Warriors won that one 99 to 88 points, and they are just one lead, one ahead in that particular best of 7 series. Well, away from there, let's return to the world of football. Before we talk Champions League football, let me inform you that Chelsea Football Club will play either Los Angeles FC or Mexico's Club America in the Club World Cup holding this summer. This was confirmed yesterday after Club Leon's appeal to be included was rejected by FIFA. The Court of Arbitration of Sports has ruled that FIFA were correct to exclude Club Leon, who were due to be Chelsea's first opponents. Now, they were disqualified because their owners also own another competitor in the same competition, and that's the Mexican side, Pachuca, and that's against the FIFA rule. And that's why Chelsea will wait for the team that they will play first. All right, quick one also coming from the camp of Liverpool this morning, where Real Madrid are aiming to complete the signing of Trent Alexander-Arnold before the start of the FIFA Club World Cup. Don't forget that Arnold's contract ends this month. Actually, next month, yes, the 30th of June. And, of course, he's looking to get a new club for himself and, of course, start a fresh career elsewhere outside of his boy club, Liverpool Football Club. Now, away from that this morning, let's go straight, because of our time, to this story that has to do with one of the greatest in the sport, that Cristiano Ronaldo, whose eldest son now, he has actually been called up to the Portugal under-15 squad for the first time. He is 14. He is Cristiano Ronaldo Jr. and they believe that he's good enough. Currently, he plays for Al Nassr in Saudi Arabia, of course, with his father. And of course, the Portuguese national team feels he's good enough to be part of the under-15 side. And of course, we might be having another Ronaldo, of course, play for Portugal. While one might be leaving very soon, the Ronaldo Jr. might just take over that one. From there, let's head straight to UEFA Champions League this morning, where Inter Milan will play in the final of this year's UEFA Champions League after defeating Barcelona 4-3 on aggregate, 4-3 rather, yesterday, not on aggregate, in their Champions League semi-final yesterday. Now, both teams had played a thrilling 3-3 draw at Camp Nou, and there you have on your screen, first leg ended 3-3, second leg yesterday after regulation time ended 3-3, and eventually, after extra time, 4-3 in favor of Inter Milan. Of course, Inter Milan went through 7-6 on aggregate. What a game we had yesterday. What a game, I must tell you. Inter Milan have actually proved many people wrong, coming into this one. Of course, we must say congratulations to them. They dealt with Barcelona the way they should, and of course, they're into the final. Then they will have to wait for the winner of tonight's tie between Paris Saint-Germain and Arsenal. You recall that first leg game ended 1-0 in favor of Paris Saint-Germain in London last week. So PSG are coming into this game with a 1-0 advantage, and they'll be doing that at home, their home ground. Of course, only time will tell. Of course, we understand that Paris Saint-Germain's Dembele has been passed fit for tonight's game. So it's going to be it's going to be very interesting, honestly, I must say this morning. And there you have the Arsenal team traveling to Paris 2 days ago to honor that particular encounter. We'll see how things pan out. I'm sure that we are in for another interesting time in the UEFA Champions League later on tonight. And that's sports this morning. Back to Samson and Pat.
All right, welcome back to Dominion Studios here in Ibadan. The show will not be completed without wishing a kind-hearted woman a many happy returns. And of course, an amazing is a year today. A quintessential woman, a veteran, is a year older. We celebrate the new age of our Vice President, Dr. Mrs. Margaret Temitayo Olabi, as she turns a year older today. From all of us at Dominion Broadcast Group, we wish you a happy birthday, and we wish you long life and sound health. And blessings will celebrate you, ma'am.
Well, we join the world to celebrate a quintessential woman. Your leadership, wisdom, and unwavering commitment continue to inspire excellence in all of us. As you mark another glorious year, we pray that God grants you more strength, Amen. Joy, and boundless success.
Amen.
And that's from all of us at Dominion Broadcast Group.
Group.
Happy birthday to you, ma'am. Long life and prosperity.
Let me put this Yoruba. Yoruba will say Igba Odukoni. All right, that's all we have for you today on the program Daybreak Live on Dominion Television here in Iagoko, of course, in Ibadan, the Brown Roof City. I wish you a beautiful day. My name is Pat Aito Samson.
My name is Samson Balogo. Until tomorrow, see you again. Keep being safe, keep being nice out there. Bye for now.